Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back into, I don't even know what we're calling this. We don't have a snappy name, but maybe we'll get one in time. Candidate Elizabeth Ricketts for Ward 1, I believe.
Correct.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, Colin. Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you. We had to go back and forth. This whole thing has been, so many people's schedules is really tough. It's tough to
I'm
manage.
sure.
So I wanted to start here. This is kind of where I start with everybody is, why did you decide to run? What kind of inspired you to do this?
I decided to run for city council because I have been a resident of the county since 2000, and I have been a resident of Charlestown for the last 6 years. I've lived downtown, I've worked downtown, I've volunteered downtown. I try to keep up with what the city council is working on. So I feel very informed on the issues and would like to do more, be more involved, get elected so I can be a force for some positive change.
Is this the first time you've run for an elected office?
It is the first time.
Are you scared? Is it nerve-wracking?
It's been a great experience so far, getting out and meeting the people of Charlestown. Everyone is really nice and has great ideas. And I've worked on some political campaigns before as a volunteer. So, sorry, my upstairs neighbor is apparently moving furniture.
That's perfect. That's fantastic.
So yeah, I live in an apartment in downtown Charlestown. So I feel like I have a good sense of the vibe in the town and the direction that the people want to go in.
I'm so glad you said that. What's it like living in downtown Charlestown? I've always wondered that.
I love living in downtown Charlestown. I grew up in Shannondale, which people call the mountain. And, growing up, it was always kind of lame because there was nothing to do and my friends were all far away. So when I decided to get my own place, I moved downtown. And at the time I was volunteering a lot at the old Opera House. I did like 5 shows there in one season. And I was driving back and forth from the mountain to Charlestown for rehearsals. And a friend of mine had a room in her apartment right downtown on Washington Street. And I thought, if I could walk to the Opera House, if I could get a job downtown and walk to that, I'd have shops and restaurants to walk to. So that's pretty much been my life for the last 6 years. I mostly walk. I don't have a car right now, and I can make it work because of where I'm at here in Charlestown.
That's great. Does it have a big nightlife, a hustling, bustling nightlife down there?
I will say that the nightlife was really getting going before the pandemic. I felt like we were starting to have bar crawls. There was some good coordination between the different later night spots. And, there was always some place to catch music on the weekends. So I'm hoping to see that kind of momentum and nightlife kind of build back sooner rather than later now that things are getting better.
That's something. Wow. So is Charlestown, is this going to be a place you foresee yourself in maybe forever?
Well, forever is a really long time, but, I have been here and, I went away to college for a little bit and I lived and worked in Ocean City, Maryland for a little bit and went and stayed with family in Phoenix, Arizona, where I spent my childhood. So I've seen different places, I've been different places, and Charlestown really feels like home. It feels like a place that I can have a positive impact and help make it a place that I want to spend my life.
What do you do for work? Where do you work? What is that part of your life?
So I have previously worked at Sumitra Thai Restaurant, at Abolitionist Ale Works, and right at the beginning of last year, I joined AmeriCorps. So I served a year with the AmeriCorps through the American Red Cross, the local chapter. And obviously, like with many things, the pandemic kind of changed the nature of that. So whereas I would have been out more in the community doing face-to-face, we kind of had to pivot to more social media outreach, newsletters, more virtual meetings and things like that. And so I actually felt like I gained a lot of valuable skills for our kind of, I think, the future of kind of the working world, where we do a lot more on Zoom, on Microsoft Teams and things like that. But my focus was still in community outreach, volunteer organization, and the like. So that service year ended this past January, and right around that time, the filing deadline for city council was coming up. So I decided to try to kind of extend my public service in that regard and to seek election to city council. So right now I do freelance social media, websites, and marketing while I seek this city council seat. And then we'll see what happens after that.
Wow. So you have a lot, you kind of have a lot on your plate with this. You kind of asked for running for office now. It's giving you a lot more to kind of do. Have you been out knocking on doors, all of that?
I have been out the last few weeks knocking on doors. I have been hitting the downtown as well as getting out to some of the neighborhoods. I'm going to be out tonight knocking on doors and just meeting as many people that I don't know as possible.
Do you feel good about your chances?
I do feel good about my chances. I feel like the city is doing a good job this year of kind of promoting the election at large. And I think that's going to get the voter turnout up. And I've also taken a lot of time to meet new registered voters in Charlestown. And a lot of them, they don't know anything about how the city is run. They don't know their city council person. And they're excited to hear about an opportunity to become civically engaged at the local level.
Well, so with that said, and this is something I'm asking everybody, if you were elected, what are some things that you would like to see change? Like what right now do you think is the biggest one or two issues in Charlestown?
Sure. I mean, we're a fast growing place. I think that's going to be our number one issue in the next few years. And honestly, there's things that should have been done a decade ago to prepare for the growth that we're seeing now. So I think we're going to have to react quickly to a lot of the changing demographics in our city. But I'm excited about it. I think that with more people will come more economic vitality. I think we'll see the demand for downtown businesses increase. And I want to help make sure that our culture and history are highlighted in the city. I'm a big proponent of the arts and want to see more public art in the city, make Charlestown more walkable. I know that's going to be a big uphill battle that the current council has been, struggling with as well, is how do we connect all of our neighborhoods, connect all of our areas of downtown safely and effectively to the city center. So these are things I want to see move forward. I understand the government moves slow, so that's probably going to be the most frustrating part. But I'm ready. I'm ready to do the work.
So with that said, I have to ask you the other end of that question, which is, have you seen the current council or the current administration do good things? What do you think they've been able to accomplish and do really well over the last few years?
I think that, I think that a lot of things were going to be coming together. We have several plans. We have the comprehensive plan, the 2040 comprehensive plan, the West End revitalization plan, all beautiful on paper. And I felt like things were kind of going in the right direction. And unfortunately, the Rockwool issue took up a lot of focus and became pretty contentious, as many people have seen play out. And obviously, many citizens still aren't happy with the outcome. But I think that the city council was moving in the right direction with focusing on parks and connectivity and revitalization for downtown. So I think everyone on the city council currently has good intentions. I just want to be the one to bring some fresh energy to the council.
Well, you brought up Rockwool. Do you have an opinion on Rockwool, one way or the other?
I feel at this point that it is a done deal. Mm-hmm. It's going to be here. We have it. It's part of our community now. I would like to make to work to make sure that we don't see a similar incident like that ever occur, where people feel that they were blindsided by their leaders. I want to promote transparency with government. I want to promote more opportunities for town halls and soliciting opinions, and just getting feedback from the kind of place that the residents want this to be.
Speaking of that, getting feedback and opinions, do you or have you regularly attended some meetings as a citizen, and have you offered public comment? Have you ever gone that road?
I have. I would like to pride myself as being civically engaged since, before I could even vote. And I write to my representatives if there's something I feel strongly about. I attend local meetings. It's especially easy now to attend local meetings because so many are on Zoom. So I have been trying to use my platform on social media to let people know when meetings are coming up on topics that they might want to share an opinion on sooner rather than later. Yeah. And so recently I submitted some public comment for the state's plans to update Route 51, which is the portion of the road that connects to Washington Street, but it is a state road. So they will be doing some work there, possibly including the addition of a roundabout. But I submitted some public comment because I was concerned about some of our historic sites on that side of town, including one of the old school buildings that was this first school for Black Americans in Charlestown, and the Second Baptist Church, which was a historic Black church as well. So things like that are important to me. If it's a matter of just letting the state know, hey, you're going to do this work, but we want to make sure these things are protected and these opinions are shared. So I encourage everyone to attend public meetings, to give public comment, because, they do listen, but if nobody says anything, they're just going to proceed as planned.
What instilled that in you? You have this history, at least so you've explained today, like of activism and being engaged and wanting to kind of take control of these things. And you said that was instilled at an early age. You've always done this. What inspired that? How did you become that person? Because I'm too lazy to.
Well, I will say, my father's been a big influence. He's always been politically minded and just involved, and encouraged that in me at a young age. And I gotta say, the Star Wars movies really from an early age taught me that, there can be good and evil, but there is also morally gray. And sometimes that's more dangerous. So you gotta be involved. You can't pull the wool over your eyes or stick your head in the sand. You have to pay attention. And as a young person, especially if I'm going to be on this planet for another, 50 years or more, like, I want it to be a good place. I want to enjoy life. I want people younger than me to have opportunities, and to not say, hey, why didn't you do anything when you had the chance? I think that we all need to take the chance to be the change we want to see.
Well, so then I guess that would kind of inspire this question. If you don't win this time out, will you consider running again somewhere down the line?
I would possibly consider running again. This felt like the perfect opportunity to take this chance and to run. And, I would obviously still stay engaged. I'm still a volunteer and member of the community. And yes, so this would not be the end of my involvement.
There are other things you can, do in terms of volunteering outside of just government, though. So that kind of, I'm guessing, and it's up. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you will find other ways to stay involved, right? If even if you lose.
Absolutely, I would stay involved.
So you live downtown, and this is one of those things that has been talked about over the last bunch of months. When it comes to the pandemic and everything that happened, they allowed to have curbside pickup for the restaurants, and they were working to make things easier for businesses downtown. You live downtown. How did that affect you anyway? Did you support that? Were you against that? What were your thoughts on that?
I think that the city did a great job of helping our small businesses weather the pandemic. I think that the curbside parking spaces, the cones that they can put out when they're open, take in when they're closed. It's 2-hour parking on Washington Street anyway, so it's really not taking up anybody's long-term parking to provide that service. So I think it was great. I think it helped the small businesses downtown stay competitive with some of the bigger chains that either have drive-throughs or their own designated parking lots. So I would like to see that continue. I think that a lot of people do order carry out even, in normal times. So if that's something that the businesses feel was helpful, I would definitely support it.
With all, what about outside seating? You've worked at some of these places. Do you think that would work in downtown Charlestown?
A few of the places have, back patios that they can provide some outdoor seating. As far as bringing it out onto the front street on the sidewalk, the idea is nice. I saw downtown Frederick execute that plan to, a good degree of success. I know that with Washington Street in particular, that the issue again comes back to it being a state road. So the city is limited in what they can do as far as blocking off parking, creating bump outs and things like that. And there's also a lot of traffic on Washington Street. So if you've ever been downtown and spent some time and tried to cross the road, there's a lot of big trucks and noise. So as far as a pleasant experience for sitting on the front of a business and dining, it might not be the best, but
that's true. I mean, but if there was one pushback to that though, and you mentioned Frederick, Maryland, that's where I am right now. That's where I'm calling it from, because that's where I live, and they have tons of traffic downtown, and I live right downtown. So I mean, they still found a way. Have you seen the barriers they've set up for all the outside seating? And do you think, I talked to another candidate in another ward about this issue, and they mentioned Frederick as well, and they kind of wanted to bring something like that to Charlestown. You don't think that would work well in Charlestown? That's the vibe I'm getting.
I don't think it would work well if we had more restaurants and it was worth closing off a section and they all could have their seating there. Maybe even one of the side streets. I know over time there's been talk of Charles Street where the mosaics are, making that more of a walking mall kind of area and having seating there. I'd be interested in exploring things like that.
Okay. Now, what above anything else do you think you can bring to the Charlestown City Council that nobody else can? Nobody else can.
I would be the youngest member of City Council if elected.
Can I ask you how old you are?
Yeah, so I think that would allow me to bring some fresh perspective, some fresh energy. I hope that being in that position, I could help motivate more young people to get involved. And I think that's something that I uniquely would bring to the council.
Do you think city councils by and large are too old?
Well, it is a position. It is not a job. So it does not pay a full-time job. And it requires a lot of effort as far as reading materials, attending meetings. So I understand why it has leaned towards older people, because they may be retired or more comfortable in their careers where they have more flexibility. So generally it's been a position that is more suitable for people with disposable income or free time.
Yeah. That's very true. It is another form of volunteering on a lot of levels, isn't it? It really feels like that. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have a couple fun questions now. That was all serious. We're gonna get to fun. And this is something I'm asking everybody because I don't know, and you must know all about this. If you were going to give me one recommendation for where to eat dinner in Charlestown, where would you send me?
That's tough to choose one place.
Just one. All you got is one.
Well, is this like a date night dinner or is this dinner with friends?
Date night. Well, because a night with friends, that's kind of a different thing. You're just like, you probably drinking a little more than you would. It goes, whatever that is. But if you're if you really want to get a good meal?
Sure. Well, I have always been a big fan, especially when he was downtown, and he has moved to a larger location now, a little bit farther from the main downtown, but Alfredo's Mediterranean has always been a big like favorite of mine. So
everybody loves that. Everybody loves that place. What do you get there? What's the best dish?
I mean, I'm a big sucker for any kind of little free extra. So he always brings out the hummus plate at the beginning. That's just complimentary with your experience. So
I love free stuff. That any restaurant that gives you rolls for free, I'm a big fan of. So I fully support that answer. Also, I was wondering, the pandemic happened, and I know a lot of people who over the pandemic kind of developed a new hobby or a new skill or something that they got passionate about. Was there anything you picked up during the pandemic or have or still are picking up?
Well, I entered my first film festival during the quarantine lockdowns of the pandemic. I entered the 72-hour film festival, which is over in Frederick, and it starred my cat.
Aww.
So that was a lot of fun. I got to learn about filming and editing and just had a great time.
Did you do that with a bunch of friends?
Nope. So I've done that film festival in years past and been on, the other side of the camera. But because of the pandemic, they opened it up to virtual submissions. Okay. So it was just me and my cat. We made a movie in a 72-hour weekend.
That's great. Did you win?
I did not win, but the competition's tough. They bring in some really good art to that festival.
Have you been to the actual festival?
I have. They normally host it at the Weinberg Theater. They're in Frederick. So I think they are planning to do a combination of virtual and in-person festival this year. And I would also love to see a film festival come to Charlestown. I think we have beautiful locations for filming and tons of creative people. Very true, very true.
So I have to ask you, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, I don't think there's such a thing. Everything, it depends on the mood and what you're going for. A cry or a laugh. You can't.
There's not one go-to thing that if you see it's on, or if you need just something, you'll put on. Even a TV show, we can branch it out to that.
Okay. I would say my favorite movie has to be Fellowship, Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Are those your favorite books too?
Not my favorite books, but favorite film.
Okay.
First one. You get all the emotions. You laugh, you cry. It's moving.
Who would you consider to be your role model?
My role model. I would say honestly, this might sound cheesy, but my parents are my role models.
Aww. I hope they're watching.
I hope so too. They've been together for 30 plus years. They're very dedicated to me and my brother and have always been very involved in our schools and our extracurricular activities and always support us and are just genuine good people. So I aspire to be like them.
Okay. And one more, this is the last one for everyone, even though I'm getting the feeling you're going to tell me you don't have an answer, but I'm going to try to get one out of you anyway.
Okay.
Charlestown has the casino, the Hollywood Casino. I don't know if you ever go there. If you don't have a car, you might not, but you could probably walk there. You could, I guess, if you wanted to. Yeah.
You're brave.
If there is one game you would like to play the most at the casino, what is it?
I like the penny slots.
The penny slots. Okay, that's fair enough. Do you ever go? Do you ever go to the casino?
I've been before. So when I turned 18, you only had to be 18 to get in. So it was a big deal, to go to the casino when you turned 18. And then while I was 19 and 20, they added the table games, and so you had to be 21 to go.
Yeah.
Like able to go and then not, but yeah, I mean it's a big cornerstone of Charlestown, the racing history and all that. So yeah,
okay,
check it out every once in a while.
That's good. That'd be a good exercise, I think, going up that hill too toward the casino. That'd be good. Well, this has been mighty fun. I wish you luck, and with everything that's going on. If there is there any last thing you'd like to say to anybody watching, or any last ditch pitch for your candidacy?
Just I have made myself available on Facebook. I have a campaign email, phone number, and if you would like to get in touch with me, or anybody has any questions about my platform or me as a person, I am happy to have a conversation.
Where can they, what's the Facebook page? What's the?
Sure. So on Facebook, if you search at Ricketts for Seatown, you'll find the campaign page, or just Elizabeth Ricketts City Council show up. My phone number is 304-397-0115.
Is that is that your personal phone number?
That's my phone number. You can reach me there.
My goodness gracious. What if people start calling you and I don't know, I can't even imagine.
Airplane mode.
Oh, well, okay.
You need a break. You gotta use the airplane mode, but if you text, I'll respond as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck.
Yes, thank you, Colin. I appreciate it. Is this going to be, this video going to be available anywhere to share?
Most definitely. This will all be on the Journal's website, and it will also be in print. So we will be sure to send you all of the links and make you aware when it's up. And if you want to direct people to it, that'd be great.
Awesome, will do. Thank you, Colin.
All right, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.